Welcome back, everyone. So I just want to start this out with a little clip that I get in Pyro 4.0. You can see I started my own hangar. You can see I have trespassing as well, and obviously this elevator boss is going to be a bit of a challenge. It's already blacked out. So when I go here, I want to go to the cargo section, and it sends me to someone else's hangar. I don't know whose hangar this is. I don't know whose ship that is. That's not my ship. I didn't call for my Firebird. I do have a Firebird, but I didn't call for my Firebird. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to the elevator. I'm trying to make it over to the cargo section to take a look at component, or I'm actually trying to get back to the entrance so I can go look at components so I can figure out the pricing. And at any rate, as I make it back, this is where I'll get repositioned. And I've actually, ever since I started this particular patch, I keep getting this reposition player thing, and it just keeps endlessly. So I have to go back to the menu. Anyways, the patch looks ready. Let's ship it. What we're doing here. So where I've set up is I've used Urkel's data here, and it is based off 4.0's PTU data, or ePTU data really. Now I know that this isn't live, so this is all subject to change. Additionally, this data is just kind of a bullet point when it comes to shopping and figuring out where to possibly go. I did this collection to try to determine where I might want to initially spawn at, and so I'm looking at the different ship components. Now, you can get all kinds of stuff. You can take a look at the ships, the different ships that are sold here. You can also take a look at center mass for weapons. But at the end of the day, what I really did is I just went to look at the big four components. I looked at coolers, power plants, quantum drives, and shields. I didn't take a look at any of the weapons. So that leads to this basic data set on basically looking at the different systems. But this isn't going to be a death by a PowerPoint or a death by sheets in this case, but Excel. I think looking at this data is going to be all kind of, boring, I guess is a better way to put it, but it's just generally speaking, it's going to be hard to digest all this data. So I did put this in Power BI. This is Power BI. I wanted to try to visualize as much as this as I kind of could, but still summarize it in a meaningful way and try to understand which areas have which components. And so also kind of allows to figure out where I can go. Now, I obviously can change this and manipulate this quite a bit. So like if I want to look at all 6 competitive drives here, I could do that and summarize this. So I get it that it's a little too much data for really trying to understand everything. Now, if you wanted me to go through each one of these kind of slicers and do a long form video about that, I could. Just let me know in the comments down below. We'll also see how the views go for this. So when I do some of these things, people, it may or may not really tug their interest. So anyway, starting from the top here, we're going to go all the way down and we'll take a look at these. And I'm just going to do this the first go around because a lot of these are going to be similar until we start to compare Pyro and Stanton more directly, and then ultimately take a cost analysis a little bit. Not a big cost analysis, but take a little bit of costs between Pyro and Stanton. So up here is going to be the sizing and the classes. So you can see here a rundown of the different sizes of components that are made available and the number of components that are made available. Additionally, down here, it's going to be by grade, but the same kind of basic data, but it's just grade instead of size. Additionally, then we'll take a look at the different component types, and then we'll make our way down to the ship grades, and then finally the sizing and the different size components that are made available, and new babbage in this case. Additionally, I do want to note that when I looked at my data set does include military items, but none of them appear to be available for sale. So it looks like CIG is in fact following along with what they just said before, which is military items may be craftable, I think, at the end of the day, but not going to be for sale this as of this patch. All right, unless they make adjustments. Again, all of this is subject to change. I just think that 4.0 is probably well on its way, so I think looking at this stuff now feels fairly confident, with a high degree of confidence that it's going to stay relatively similar. So up here you can see the different classes of different types here. Obviously, again, military is not going to be on any of these charts, but there's a good mix here, except for no stealth components. So New Babbage does not offer any stealth components for what it's worth. They do offer a pretty high industrial and a civilian mix, obviously, and a few competitions in the different size categories of 1 and 2. Similar story here with the grades. A good quality mix of A and B here on the grades. And then you can kind of see that all here as well. I have A, B, and C, and D here. D quality being kind of red because it's the worst you want. It's the worst. C being kind of an orange, which is closest to red. Then you kind of have the stoplights, A and B here, right? So A being good or the best, and B being kind of a yellow. Ship sizing here. These aren't really any particular order as far as colorization, but again, you can see the different colors here. Unfortunately, red and purple, I probably could have picked, blue and purple here are pretty similar, so I I probably could have picked different colors here, but blue is going to be the number 1 size. Number 2 is going to be purple, and then green standing out there a bit more as being size 3. I do have size 0 in this data set, but in some later iterations, I do kind of filter it out. Additionally, you can see pricing here. This is rounded up. And then again, say for example, we want to take a look at the size 3 components. We can see here it's a good mixture of about 7 that are blue, 4 that are A size components. So again, if you want to see a actual look, I'll have to see how the views go on this, but if people are interested in seeing the different breakdowns here, I could be clicking on these different slicers and we could get a better rundown of everything. Again, when I pick on that size 3 as well, we can see that it's going to kind of summarize things a little bit better as well. All right, let's move on to Orison. Orison is a little bit of a different story here. It has no industrial, but it does offer stealth components. You can see the sizing here, pretty much favoring the size 1 and 2, and again, A and B as a pretty good offering here. So I think we're going to find that across all the major. Additionally, you will see that Lorville's not a tab down here. There was no data for Lorville, and I actually went to Lorville and I couldn't find anything at the Stanton and Sons. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with Lorville, but unfortunately, I couldn't find any components there. You can see a good breakdown here on the class as well. Like I said, I have a good mix of stealth. So it's mostly civilian components, but then there's stealth and competitive. And then the different breakdown here as well on the other sizing. There's a pretty good spectrum when it comes to the Stanton stations. Area 18 has a lot of components, and we'll see that here in a minute when we actually see Stanton. But it has a good mix across the size. See here that 1, 2, and 3, all of them across the board have a pretty good amount of different size diversity here. Similar things with the grades. It does offer quite a few D as well as B and C. So C, I mean, it's up to you, right? So, but A is pretty low. A and B seem relatively low, and then D, B being okay. That seems to be pretty common, that count. If we go back and take a look, A being 10, I mean, I guess it just has a lot more as well, so it's hard to kind of judge this out as being a lower A amount, but it does seem to be lower A. I mean, obviously was there with Orison. That being said, there's a good mixture across the board of what components they do offer. They do have stealth, competition, civilian. Obviously, all are going to be civilian heavy as it is, but it does offer all of the 4 different types. We'll take a look at Pyro now. So the interesting you'll find out about Pyro, and we'll see this in a minute, is that unfortunately, all these 21 components are the same across the board. So why is there only 1 Pyro stations representative here is because when we see the Pyro breakdown here in a second, you're going to see that all the different stations, and I mean all of them, have the exact same components. And this is what you're going to get. So you don't have any size 3 components, and you don't have any A components. So they're going to be B and C heavy, and they're going to be some Ds that are in there as well. And then again, you don't see any size 3. That's just they're not offered here. And you can see pricing is kind of spread out. Some even being kind of high for the D components here. That's kind of interesting. Although I think I have average price here, I should have put minimum here. So that's kind of a miss on my mark, and I'll fix that kind of later on. So again, if we look at Pyro, you can see all of them, no matter which station I took a look at here, they all have 21 components, and they're all exact same components. You can see the duplications within here. So you're going to find each of these different stations are going to offer the same ones. I think there's 10 stations, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, yeah. So you're going to find 10 representations of the same exact things. So unfortunate for Pyro, if you're going to start at Pyro, you're going to have to go to Stanton eventually to probably get the components you're going to want. And so what does it look like in Stanton? This is what it looks like in Stanton. So good, obviously you're going to be civilian heavy on the different counts here, but you're still having a good offering of the other components as well. A good broad offering in the sizing. Obviously 1 and size 2 components make up the wider breadth between the 0s and the 3s there, but at least there's offerings across the board and across the different grades and the current sizings. And you can see here Area 18 has a heavy component amount. So does Grimhex. Grimhex actually has quite a few as well. So when I take a look at Grimhex, now the reason I didn't include Grimhex in the main data set here is because you can't spawn here. So I really was trying to look at it more from a spawning standpoint. And so if you take a look here, it's got a pretty good mix of what it can offer. It has all the different types. It has the civilian components, obviously a large portion of those, and it has industrial, competition, and it has the stealth components. So pretty nice. All in all, Cruel L4 actually pretty high up here as well. So above Orison even. Anyways, last thing I wanted to kind of take a look at is pricing. So this, I did average originally, and the average was higher in Stanton, but that's just because there's more actual components made available. So this is the minimum price. So if you're really min-maxing, there's two things here. There's actually a filter on here as well. I don't include size 0 components. So what we're looking at is the different components made available in, of the 21. All of those will be included here except for the size 0 components. You can see here the name of the particular component and the size of it. And then what I chose is minimum. So it's actually picking the minimum value, and blue being for Stanton and red being, or the orange for Pyro. So you can see here, no matter what you do, it's always cheaper to get it in Stanton, which makes sense. That's kind of what I was thinking. When I was first looking at the average cost, it actually showed up higher in Stanton, but again, there's more of it, and there's probably quite more extremes in there as far as lows and highs. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I could do it, maybe, again, if this gets enough views and if people are interested enough, I could potentially do it by size category. We could do a different breakdown. I would just need to know what people are interested in. You know, they want to see it by size, they want to see it by grade. Do people even care? So anyways, that's about it. We'll see how this goes, and I appreciate those taking time to watch the video, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.